What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, cloud swing traders. Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys are feeling good. We got Albert in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to Amy, Anna, Andrew. Andy's in the house. Good morning to Bill, David, Franklin. We got Jeff, Joe, JT, Keith, Lauren. Good morning to Lucian, Martina. Michelle's in the house. Good morning to Renee, Rob Cole in the house. Good morning to Tim. All my people out in YouTube land, hostile. Coming in bright and early today. Good morning to you. Good morning to M Sky, B Jol. Good morning to Tony. We got Ray Helms in the house. Yeah, remember when like we were all focused on NVIDIA and we're like, yeah, NVIDIA's gonna report earnings, and then I just figured the whole day we'd just talk about NVIDIA. But we got some crazy stuff uh right before even the market closes, Trump starts tweeting, talking about how we're gonna ban it wasn't the market took it as chips, but it wasn't, it was just more of an individual companies like chip designers, like people that do like the software for it. And then also jet software to China. So we had a little bit of news right before earnings to just add on to everything else. Then you get NVIDIA earnings. They were, don't get me wrong, they were good. Were they crazy, like above expected? I don't, personally, I don't think they were like we should fly crazy higher, but the market took it that way. I think it's how they reported it. They kind of left. They gave the numbers based off of not putting China in there, so they excluded China from it. So the market kind of liked that one. And then I was like, okay, Nvidia gets the pop. We're all good. I walk away from the computer. All of a sudden, I'm like, what is happening? Then we have apparently three judges in Manhattan say that Trump can't put on tariffs anymore, or at least the news came out where just mass tariffing countries is not really in the perspective as to what he could actually do, and market just absolutely loves it. That would change the game. However, since then we found out it's not every tariff, so there's still tariffs in place. It's just some of the tariffs they're saying that he doesn't have actually power to actually implement. And the other portion of that, and this is what's going to drive the market crazy, is there's going to be an appeal. There was already an appeal. The only thing we haven't had yet is a Trump tweet or truth about it, which I think probably will end up showing up at some point, and then we have to see what the market reaction is from there. Leading into all of that, we were fairly bullish on the at least the daily chart. Yesterday was a gap up. It was a retest. We did start selling toward the end of the day. Still held some pretty important levels, 584.91. Last night, market went absolutely crazy. We've given some back already, and I don't even know if TradingView is going to show the actual numbers. Yeah, they're showing like 592. We were, hold on, maybe I need extended hours. Maybe I got to get the extended hours. That would help. Yeah, that's better. We got up to 598.31, so pretty impressive move. Since then, we have kind of given back some. We faded a little bit, and it depends on where we open. Gap and go from yesterday, so and definitely toward the end of the day, there was some selling. I would have liked to see, and still very strong gap, regardless. Very, very strong gap. Look for 590.41 as some support. And then the problem with this all right now, and unless the pre-market can just start rallying a little bit harder, I would like to see us get above 592.76. Then you have next resistance at the 593.45. Next resistance 594.06. If we get above all those numbers, we're back to the 600 zone, maybe staring down the 605 zone. So for right now, not bad. Good job, Bulls, carrying it home, but you gotta hold it. So the next 24 minutes has to be a buy fest. Otherwise, we are just opening into resistance. I bought some calls on things right at the close yesterday because I was kind of thinking that we go a little bit bullish and we don't really collapse. I didn't know we were going to get all the craziness, but I got a gift and I have some orders in to sell some certain calls and things like that for today. So I'm willing to take some gains, lock in some gains. I have some other orders. We're going to keep them open and just try to see if we can let things ride out a little bit. So I am in the bull camp. I just don't know if I can get a better price a little bit later or if we get a Trump tweet today. And I think we're still going to be all watching Twitter, all watching Truth, all watching the news, and the market's going to be moving off that. So we will see. Otherwise, probably a little chop, just going back and forth until we could break some of those key levels on the SPY. We got the Qs obviously reacting fairly well to not only the tariff news, but also to NVIDIA and a lot of other chips. CRM also had a really good earnings report too. But Q's, nice gap up. Again, clearing the recent resistance. So anything above 520.92, don't get me wrong, that is bullish. But even yesterday's red candle, that was still all a retest gap. So there was some bulls that were in this, did not sell. They're getting a better price, opening into a monster resistance. So watch that resistance. Again, I don't mind shaving some shares of things. I don't mind taking a couple contracts off the table. Right now, I think bulls have full control of this market, but playing the fades on things has been a very, very good move. So I'll probably be patient and open, besides just kind of clearing out a couple positions that I want to. If we start getting above 526.50, you have your next resistance not too far away. It's an okay one, but it's 528.68. You got a pretty decent one, 529.77. And then if we start clearing that, you have an okay one here, which is 533.04, and a much bigger one, 536.04. So still a lot of resistance as we climb higher. I do think bulls are in control. I would not be shocked if um, I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait. I wouldn't be shocked if we sell, but the big problem is, or sell at open and then later today we buy. The one big thing is we've given back a lot already, so that might be the selling we need, and then we rampage. So I don't know. I think being patient. I'm on the fence. Wouldn't actually be shocked if we see a nice high wave candle and like a 15-minute for the SPY as well developing. So we'll see. When he says I made a boo boo, I opened up more puts at closing yesterday due to Trump announcement. Oh no, he cooked the trading account. Do you have some time on it, or were they like expiring today or Friday? If you have more time, right now you do have a little bit of resistance. Watch those resistance points, and you might get that fade back. I could see that happening. And then again on the other side, and I know nobody wants to hear the analysis of we might go up or we might go down. I hate when that's the analysis, but really you do have a good resistance. I think the buying was a little overdone yesterday. Again, going into like that news, and I think the algos just took this in crazy. If it was just on NVIDIA earnings, if it was just on like some solid stuff, great. But it's from a judge that says we can't tariff. That does change the game. However, we know that's getting appealed. We know it's probably going to the Supreme Court, and most likely, I think Trump wins it. So that means that the news that we rallied on is probably not existent in a couple weeks. That's how I take it. Bitcoin, BTC, USD. Bitcoin is chilling for now. So hanging out. Looks like a nice little bull flag setting up. We're still above all moving averages. Everything kind of looks decent still. The big target for this one, or right now, the big resistance that we have to clear through to make that next move higher would be 110, 158. If we could start getting above that, getting some closes, the outlook looks pretty decent for Bitcoin. Other than that, it still looks fairly good. It looks like we're just hanging out, trading sideways for this point. I don't know if we have a big day today or not. There was obviously, and maybe still going on the crypto conference. I think JD was speaking yesterday. But everything is just kind of hanging out for crypto for now. Still looks good. Doesn't look like it's about to fall apart. Not yet anyway, so that looks good. MSTR. MSTR is also a nice little gap up. This one does have resistance as well that we're kind of opening into, which is 371.41, somewhere around there. If we could start climbing above it, it's that puts a little more legitimacy, I think, to that gap and go. And then I think at least your next target becomes 376.02, or maybe we start to this entire thing looks like we're just bouncing off the 50 at this point, and then maybe make that move higher. But and then much bigger target somewhere around 380.26. But watch that first resistance. Still inside day. You're right at the very high end of it. Wouldn't be shocked if you get a little pullback. This would also be an interesting high wave candle because you do have technically a little support somewhere around 369.10. So small high wave candle, maybe that could give you a trading opportunity to take a break above it if you're bullish. Otherwise, it has pulled back to a decent little retest spot, and it is a gap and go today. So maybe we are trapping some bulls. Let's put this one a little bit higher on the watch list. Frank says, or Trump has Congress implement tariffs if he wants to. There's different directions he could take it, where he could just almost supersede the entire ruling, just putting the tariffs under a different act. That's a possibility. I think his preferred method would be just take it to the Supreme Court, bring it up as high as you can, and then I think he probably wins there. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. It's going to be interesting. Um, the market took, and this is the thing, the market took it so bullish, but to me, all that really creates now is indecision until we have a decision from the courts. Because we're almost putting out like I don't think any of the deals matter. I know we were talking maybe India deal matters coming soon. I think all of that's off the table if we don't have tariffs, if that's not even a thing anymore, which I think it will be, and I think Trump wins. But where do we? All we're sitting is an indecision until we get probably a Supreme Court ruling. We don't. Maybe there's no tariffs, or maybe all the tariffs are right back. I think the market would actually hate that news as opposed to like just having like, okay, here's our clear cut path. This is how we can invest. I think you're back to square one of we don't know if there's tariffs or not now. So I don't know. I thought the market reaction was a little crazy for that news. I get it, no tariffs, and market's gonna love it. Algo's gonna love it, but I don't know. AMET, nice gap and go. Big resistance right above you, 165.19. So that's gonna be a little too tight for me to try to day trade it. Also, even though it is a gap and go from yesterday, this was a retest gap for the most part, or at least tried to go bullish, kind of faded. If AMAT starts to creep above 165, and if you think it does, maybe you have a better opportunity somewhere down here trying to play it before it breaks out. Otherwise, I would see if this one could start climbing above 165.29. Then I think you have a good trade up to like 168.03. So it will have some room, but you do have a pretty decent resistance right in front of you. I'd rather this one pull back a tad more into 163.29-ish at least, and then try on second opportunity to break through that little resistance. But it is a gap and go from yesterday. I think a lot of these gap and goes are a little deceiving because this was still really just an inside day candle. Not really much happened. The only thing that would probably put a little more steam on this one is you did get up here before it sold off, so there was some selling at some point. It did close red, so maybe there is some shorts, but I think green candle, green candle. This is probably more profit taking than people wanted to short this one. So I'm not sure if this one's going to get enough steam to get through that next resistance. If it does, you do have a really good trade on it. TGT. You guys are asking for some Tessie in YouTube land. Target is same thing. Again, yeah, it's a gap and go from yesterday, but anybody that was bullish on the 21st, anybody bullish on the 22nd, the 23rd, the 24th, 27th, they really didn't have to freak out at all. Nobody had to panic. Nobody had to sell, and they're still profitable on this one. I think this one actually pulls back a little bit. You do have resistance not too far away, 97.27. I would see if this one could pull back. You have your first little support that we are above 97.15. I'd almost want to see probably a full on retest actually about 96.70. Get me a little bit better risk reward on this one. Kohl's reported earnings this morning, and they were good. They actually came in with a beat, which is okay. 47% beat earnings per share. They did beat by 1% on revenue. So Kohl's has a nice move, and maybe Target and some retail are going to be kind of leaning off that one. But very interesting spot where we're opening on Kohl's. I'd like to see this thing open above $8.72. It is a retest gap for now, so if it doesn't, you might see a little bit of a pullback. If it does, that gap might be a little more significant, and then I think you have at least targets to about 910. Maybe you can run this thing up to like 919 for the day. And then I think that would be a failed retest gap if we could get a little bit higher at open, but opening right into that resistance now. Lisa says, I think it matters of blanket. It does. We just don't know. We just don't know, right? It comes down to the court. We don't know how the court's going to decide. I think Trump does win it, but who knows even how long this thing plays out for, and then just puts us in la la land for a little bit. Tesla, you guys want to take a look at? Tesla looks very interesting with this gap up again. Very, and I think we're going to see this a lot. Big strong day. We talked about this little channel that broke out 2 days ago. So here's our little channel on Tesla. Let me see if I get the pen. Something like this. Looks something like this. Nice gap out of it. So that looks really good. I think Tesla probably has more bullish momentum ahead of it. Yesterday, even though it's a red candle, so technically it's a gap and go from yesterday. I don't know how many people again were selling. I don't think there was reason for panic. If you bought it anywhere before yesterday at the open, you're profitable. Even if you bought this thing at open yesterday, you hung in there and you're profitable at open. So I don't know how many bears we're squeezing necessarily. However, it did on May 27th close at a really good spot. I think you got your next target on this one into like 369.07, all the way up to like 369.57. So we're still approaching a little resistance. And then really the next spot for me, I have a blue line here. I don't like it as much for an exact penny, but that's 377.95. Otherwise, 381.90 would be my next kind of bigger target on this one. So I think it has some room on it. I don't know. Maybe we get the high wave candle. I would like to see this almost come back as a retest, play it as a retest as opposed to just a breakout gap and go. Tesla does wild things. I did buy calls at the very close yesterday on Tesla, and I have an order in for half. So I'm going to hold half the calls, sell the other half, take some gains. So I could at least lock something in. If we get that retest, I'll probably implement and buy those calls right back. So either way, I'm set to play it. Plus, I got the shares, the pyramid, all that stuff. But I think we have more room to go on this one. At open, I would think maybe, or would like actually to see a little bit of a pullback first and then we rip higher. But I'm bullish on it. I think this one goes higher from here. It's just a matter of how we could kind of get in, and I'll be watching that one at open. We might be able to play that one. Tim says app arm zoom. My list sounds like a comic strip cat. Yeah, it sounds like the old Batman comics. Bang, slap, boom, twist it, bop it, jump it, skip it. Let's see, app looks like it's continuing bullish. Everything's still, I think Bulls have full control. I think the Bulls are really in control. Again, it's just now you have 1, 2, 3 days green. This is a retest gap. You do have targets a little bit further on this one. They did get the upgrade. I think it was a day or two ago for a little bit higher. But I'm looking for like 411.94. So that still gives me about $12, about $11 to the higher side, something like that. 11, $12 higher from here. Is this the best spot for me to day trade it at the open? Probably not. I think a pullback into 395.41, and the market's been pulling back a decent amount. So some of these levels might already be hitting pre-market. Just double check it. If it did, that might be more of a reason for we open and just kind of scream and go from here. But yeah, if we get a little pullback, that gets me better risk reward. You still have a little bit in here, but that is 3 days of buying. Almost very similar look to what we just talked about on Tesla, which is there's your channel sideways, nice gap above it, beautiful, and I think you get a pretty powerful continuation. That's my first target, by the way, that 412, whatever we just said. It looks like it wants higher than that too. So if you're in it, fantastic. I would hold. I wouldn't get freaked out at the open, not yet. Maybe sell some covered calls if you go a little bit higher, so if you want to. But yeah, it looks pretty good. ARM. ARM is at a resistance, a decent resistance as well. Again, 1, 2. Even though we had a little bit of a wick, so maybe that wick could power up this gap a little bit. But it is technically even with that, it closed green yesterday. And then yeah, we should probably take a look at NVDA next. ARM might be moving. What's the other one? Marvell has earnings tonight too, so you might see some further push in Marvell, and this entire sector looks like it's just on the backs of NVIDIA at this point. Again, at least with the rest of the chip names and anything kind of in the chip universe, they're at least there's a concrete reason why they're up that just won't get negated right away. So you might have some strength in some of those names Other than that, this one is opening into a little resistance, slightly higher than where we're at now, 139.86. It's a retest. I think being patient at open might be the play for some of these things. NVIDIA. So again, earnings were they did not disappoint. Let's make no mistake about it. They made a lot of money. They still make money, which is pretty good. Pretty good. But they beat earnings like it's not a that's not a huge crazy beat considering especially that we had a nice run up into this. You would think for this type of gap they would have had to really super exceed some of the expectations. And I think it really just came down to how they reported where their numbers are looking okay. Like they're still good. They beat 7%, 7 cents earnings per share, but the way they reported it, these numbers don't include China. So it was actually a really really good quarter. But that's I think the way they reported. I think the market kind of loved it. Otherwise, you are opening into a decent resistance, 142.66. You did have a slew of buying for the last few weeks on Nvidia. There is a lot of people profitable, but watch that first little resistance. The next resistance higher is 143.96. I don't think I could go long here on Nvidia. It is a really, really, really good gap, but I think if this one pulls back a little bit further, even into like this 140 zone, maybe 140, 139.48, something like that would give me just a better risk reward on the trade. Looks like it wants to go higher. It is a phenomenal gap. Let's see if there's any volume holding us back. Not really. A little bit, I guess. 143.50. Not too crazy. But yeah, it looks good. I personally I think at open, if you have some NVIDIA shares, might not be a bad time to look to sell some covered calls. Worst case, you get called away at a higher level. I maybe not a bad play. Kroger, Corey's saying to the short side. You do have that 100 coming in. Which is sitting somewhere around 66.39. I think I have a little bit of support right around 66.67. So maybe a little bit of support on this one. However, looking at it technically, there was our kind of uptrend long term. This was the first break of the uptrend. All of this was kind of the retest, and maybe you get that follow through at least into maybe that 200. So I do think it looks a little bit weaker. You have a little bit of support to fight through today on the daily, but and it is a retest gap. So I think if you're going to try to short this one, maybe you can short this one a tad higher. See if this one gets bought up into probably at least like the 67.55 zone. But as a swing trade to the short side, it does look like it's starting to break down some of the technicals. Maybe we get a bigger pullback on Kroger, but I think you can come in a little bit higher on that one, especially with that support right there and the 100 staring directly into our eyeballs. So we'll see AVGO. If you want to gamble, you get short out of the gate. I am in the business of gambling. June 5th is their earnings, so next Thursday. That's a very interesting gap. Yeah, you could. You could short this one. I think my stops would have to be somewhere above 249-ish. So that's still like $3 higher. The fact that you're taking out I almost want this thing to go a little bit higher just on some like that's a really good gap, but yeah, that is definitely a retest gap on it. The fact that we're getting above some of these key levels, it's a gamble. The closer you could get to a short to this 248.50 zone, I think the better, and then you can throw your stops maybe at all-time highs, but really good gap, and it could be a face ripping short. We'll see. But yeah, that is a gamble. You have room to the downside too. That's why I'm kind of like, maybe, maybe. But the other play is we could just relax. We'll play some Zen music, just chill out, see what the market wants to set up. Because I think we have a lot of unknowns at the open. We do have some things already moved crazy, and I think there's going to be some profit taking. But I think the dip gets bought eventually. We got Starbucks. Unless this is the dip that already came in. That's what's making me on the fence. Like that is a big dip we had from the highs to where we're sitting on the pretty much overall market. Starbucks is chilling for now. It is looking a little bit different than the rest of the market. It's down, still inside day, still above that 20. I would see if there's a retest. I don't know if we fully retest the close of yesterday, which would be that VPOC, which is 85.90. If we do, that would be an interesting spot. We are very low on the daily on this one though. But it is doing something different, and then you do have major support, which we did hit once already. That's going to be 84.66. So if we get down there again, maybe it's a little bit easier, but it seems like a pretty decent support kind of built in. So a little bit, I think a little bit choppy for day trade purpose, Bijal. You got AI. That's interesting. Yep. That's above the 200. Watch for 27.12. That's your next resistance. If you could break through that, I think you have a really nice trade. You have 28.58. This one is a little bit better of a gap and go. Lots of volume. That's going to come off the backs of the earnings that they just had, which was pretty good. Beat by 4 cents, so 20% beat earnings per share. And then they beat by an extra 962,000. Other than that, you do have a resistance approaching, but you're gapping above that 200, and you have room now up to about 28.57 if we could clear that. Maybe best approach, and that's a little bit more of a gap and go because even those bulls kind of felt a certain way, maybe going into earnings, trying to sell off a little bit, or some shorts starting to come in. I think maybe if we get down to like 26.61 or 26.48, you might have a interesting looking candle somewhere around there that you probably take advantage of. I'm gonna get this one higher on the list today. I kind of like the room on that. I think we could take a decent trade on that. Nice one. Let's see. We got Oklo, OKLO. All momentum to the bull side. So if you want to gamble, this is probably not the one to do it on. If you want to play this one to the short side, but really, really good open. I think this one probably actually goes higher today. It is inside day. Let's see if we get a little retest first. The problem with a full-on retest is now you got to climb through a little resistance. But if we come down to 55.30, maybe there's a breakout play somewhere. Obviously, we're looking at a double top, but that is a very good open on Oklo. Maybe today's the day we look to play that one. It is up a lot. So if I take this one and I lose, I could clearly understand I'm buying at all-time highs on this one. But we'll keep that one higher on the list. At least we'll watch it. We got after NVDA split first earnings, it's staying up. Yep. SOXL. This one's probably yeah, this one's gapping up a little bit. And again, from yesterday, gap and go, but really that was an inside day candle. I think this one acts as a little bit more of a retest. You do have a little bit of resistance right where we're opening, $18.24. There is the morning bell though. So we'll see further resistance up on this one is about $18.72. Other than that, everybody in YouTube land, that is the morning bell. So make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button if you've not done so already. I think patience is going to pay today. Just be careful. There's emotions on both sides.